NFL Week 12 is finished. It's over. It's done. It's behind us. It's history. What's going on, bottom line view football fans? It's Mitch here, back with my NFL weekly review show, where I react to the latest week in the NFL. This time, turkey time. Turkey football. Thanksgiving football. An entire slate from Thursday to Monday, and your boy has been grinding. Every single Monday, I wake up early, I do my BR stream, I stay up throughout the day, I watch every game I possibly can, I do the Monday Night Football stream, and I record this video late at night to get to you on a Tuesday morning. And what I promise you in this video, your Week 12 NFL review show, I will rant, I will react, and I will tell you the way it is. I will give you my honest opinion. No holding back, because that's the bottom line. Let's go. Let's break down week number 12. Beginning with the first topic. There was breaking news earlier today, and I have to discuss it. Frank Reich, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. We don't often talk about the Carolina Panthers on this channel, which is a little odd, and I'll tell you why. My best friend is a Carolina Panthers fan, so I often spend time talking about the Panthers with this friend. Shout out to Brett. Frank Reich was fired, and he had a lot of hope for this season, obviously, as a lot of Panthers fans should have had hope. But here's the thing with Panthers fans. Many times throughout my YouTube career, I've been more hopeful and more excited about the prospect of the Panthers. There's many seasons that I rave about what Carolina has done with the coaching staff or the roster especially. I've always enjoyed the Carolina Panthers. I have nothing against the Panthers. We beat them in a Super Bowl back in 2003. Nothing against them. I like Cam Newton. I loved that era of Carolina football. I loved Steve Smith, Jay Stu, D. Will, John Beeson to Luke Kuechly to Julius Peppers, the boys. Love the Panthers. But these Panthers, they have the worst future in probably professional sports. And it hurts. Because I spent the entire offseason, believe it or not, you guys probably believe it, because I spent the entire offseason telling you guys about how much I liked CJ Stroud. So meanwhile, Brett and I are conversing. His team has the number one pick. I'm talking about how much I like CJ Stroud, and every time he's talking about how the team's going to pick Bryce Young. And I'm saying they should pick CJ Stroud. And every time I always say, well, you know, Bryce Young could be good. Bryce Young, I think he will be good. I don't think he'll be great. I think CJ will be very good. I think he could be great. Every time I would start the conversation by saying, you know, if it was me, I'd pick CJ Stroud. But I get it. Bryce Young, you know, Alabama, that stuff. Yeah, he's accurate. He's smart. I get what people are saying about him. But I'd pick CJ Stroud. That's how every conversation would go. You know, I'd pick CJ Stroud. And then at first, I thought Frank Reich was going to pick CJ Stroud. But he didn't. Why? It feels like Frank Reich wanted CJ Stroud. It feels like McCown wanted CJ Stroud. Both of those guys got fired today. So did Deuce Staley, also a Frank Reich guy from Philadelphia. Speaking of Philadelphia, I give Frank Reich a lot of credit for the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles. I know that Doug Peterson was the head coach, but Frank Reich was a great coordinator with that team. Highly innovative with that team. Highly important to their third down success that season, to multiple quarterbacks having success. One in the regular season, one in the playoffs. Nick Foles, Carson Wentz. Frank Reich was a good coach in Indianapolis. He was a good coach with Phillip Rivers, a good coach with Andrew Luck. He tried his best to rejuvenate Carson Wentz. It just wasn't enough. And honestly, there could be something said about him sticking his neck out for Carson Wentz. That was his guy. That was his boy from the Eagles that nearly won an MVP with Frank Reich as the OC. Or the quarterback coach. I can't quite remember. But regardless, Frank Reich, Carson Wentz, that was his boy, and that was a letdown. He moves on to Carolina, and it just feels like he's been walking through the motions, especially since they picked Bryce Young. And as much as you want to sugarcoat it, as much as I want to hear it down the road, I want to hear a Frank Reich interview about whether or not he in fact wanted CJ Stroud. And Frank Reich doesn't seem like the guy that would throw Bryce Young under the bus, and I'm sure he likes Bryce Young, but there's something to be said about just when you look at the traits of the quarterbacks and which guy Frank Reich might like a little bit more. So just imagine, although Frank Reich has not done anything that well this year, his play calling has not been up to standard, in my opinion, for Frank Reich. He was a good play caller in the past. Maybe not always, but mostly a good play caller. He was a pretty good offensive coach. I always gave him credit for having equal balance in the run and the pass game. I thought he was a very good run play caller, but also a very good pass game caller, and then coordinating the run and the pass game extremely well, and seeing it through the quarterback lens. And I felt like Frank Reich, being a former quarterback in the NFL, famously with the Buffalo Bills, that he would be able to build up somebody like Bryce Young, put him in a spot to succeed, put him on a team, in a position, in a system, in a spot to succeed. So I felt like Bryce Young going to the Panthers, although they didn't have great receivers, although they didn't have a great offensive line, but I felt good about the offensive line and the running game, which has not since come to life. I'm disappointed with Frank Reich and what he brought to Carolina. I'm also disappointed with how it's unfolded. I feel like there's a reason Frank Reich is the first coach to be fired this quickly since 1978. This is the fastest coach firing since 1978. Now, Panthers fans, a little trivia for you. The coach that was fired in 1978 was actually replaced by somebody very, very, very great. His name was Bill Walsh. So, maybe you got some hope. Maybe you have the next Bill Walsh coming into your door. But something in me seems to think no. Because the Carolina Panthers, again, going back to this, might have the least promising future in all of sports. They traded multiple first-round picks, including a first-round pick that could have easily got you potentially a generational prospect. Potentially. Not one, but multiple quarterbacks in this class that you would look at toe for toe, fingernail for fingernail, buttocks for buttocks, arm for arm, better than Bryce Young. If you were to compare Drake May as a prospect to Bryce Young, or Caleb Williams to Bryce Young, there's no comparison. Maybe even Jaden Daniels. Maybe even some of the other guys. Now, Bryce, extremely smart on tape in college, but he lacked physical attributes that made me believe he wasn't a first overall pick. So a lot of this to me comes down to Bryce Young is not the guy for Carolina. And not only that, Tepper was proven wrong. Tepper had a high influence on that pick. He needs a scapegoat. He needs someone to blame, so he's going to blame the coach. that didn't support him with a team or a system. Now, I'm not sure the play that the general manager had in this, but the receiving core is lousy. The run game has not operated at a high level. The offensive line has been lousy all year, and it was very good last year. I mean, in fact, Steve Wilkes' Panthers were night and day. Better than this Panthers team. Steve Wilkes, the DC in San Francisco now. Maybe they should have just stuck with him. Maybe. So I think everything starts with Tepper. Because if they pick Stroud, I'm sure it's going better. Stroud might not be playing as well as he is in Houston, but we would have never known that. Reich would probably still have a job. I feel like Reich has been a good coach in the NFL. But as of late, the last couple of years, that certainly has not been the case. I don't know what it is, but ever since the Carson Wentz thing went down, the guy has not been the same head coach. I feel bad for him. Seems like a good guy. Seems like a great football mind. I'm sure he'll pop up somewhere as an OC or a quarterback coach, ideally. But, yeah, it's just a tough situation to talk about. Because I want the Panthers to succeed. But it's looking like they could have easily passed up on Bryce Young, picked a receiver, picked an offensive lineman, picked a defender, waited for the next season to happen. Maybe they bring in Frank Reich, a new head coach, whatever. That doesn't work out, but at least they'd have their draft pick. At least they'd be in a position to pick Caleb Williams. A guy with a cannon. A guy with the physical attributes that you look at and say, ooh, that guy could be Mahomes. That guy could be Allen. Because Bryce Young, you look at him and you could never really say that. You could say, he could be Tua. So, it's a tough place to be if you're a Panthers fan. And I wanted to talk about that because there's a lot that goes into it. I think it's extremely interesting. Let me know what you guys think about Frank Reich being fired. Not trying to defend him in any fashion or form here. He definitely was really bad in Carolina. But it feels like that was messed up and it was going to be a mess and it was going to be a failure from the beginning. And it felt like Frank Reich actually never got his guy. Which is the whole reason he went to Carolina. So that sucks. It looked like a coach that was uninspired and upset. Let's move on. Monday Night Football. So, earlier tonight, I covered Monday Night Football. Quite frankly, one of the worst football games of the 2023 NFL season. So bad, in fact, that I was about to fall asleep live on air. The game ended up being an upset, 12-10, by the Chicago Bears. The Bears, moving on up. Another team that puts the Patriots in the dust. That allows New England to move into position for the number 1 or the number 2 draft pick. Adding some comfort, adding some cushion to the Patriots draft stock. So keep that in mind. But the Bears are now 4-8. The Vikings are now 6-6. And this game is a lot more to me about the Vikings. But there are takeaways with the Bears. So first, beginning with the Bears, what did I see? Offensively, I saw much of the same. I thought the game began and Justin Fields was playing quite well. I thought especially the first drive, he played pretty well. I thought throughout the game, he showcased his athleticism and his legs. A majority of the pass attempts were near or at the line of scrimmage. They very much limited his depth of target in the game, and I think that was an intentional game plan thing because Brian Flores is a heavy blitzer. But the thing with the Vikings is they're very well schooled and they can anticipate. They're very smart and they tackle really well. So even if you throw the ball out there on a bubble screen, they might be able to wrap you up because they anticipate it. And a number of times that happened. Not once, but many times. The Bears couldn't really run the ball all that well all day, which was expected because the Vikings have a good run defense. And the only way they really moved the ball was through DJ Moore. occasionally Cole Kmet, and that's about it. Fields' legs. But after the first drive, where they missed a field goal, it really felt like the Bears weren't getting anything going. Even with good field position, where the Vikings threw how many interceptions? 4? The Bears couldn't capitalize on it, which is a signal for a bad football team, a bad offense, and a bad quarterback. And this is another game that goes in the book of, yeah, Fields won and the Bears won. But they won because of, honestly, Matt Eberflus's defense. 4 interceptions. A big-time stop near the end of the game to get them the ball back without being down a full 4 points after Justin Fields fumbled the football, giving the Vikings the ball in a position to push it towards a touchdown. And that was the story of the game to me. The Vikings had an opportunity to close this game because Justin Fields fumbled the ball and they couldn't do it. Kevin O'Connell, a guy that I said coach of the year a few weeks ago, is no longer that guy for me. This was a horrific performance by Kevin O'Connell. Not only was it a bad game for his offense and a rough game for his quarterback, Josh Dobbs was atrocious tonight. Horrible. He looked like a game manager. He looked like not even a game manager because he threw 4 picks. He looked like a journeyman. That's a better word for it. He didn't look like the pastronaut. He looked like the astronaut, if you know what I mean. He was the definition of fat Rikishi ass, okay? He was bad. Justin Fields was just as bad in moments. Not nearly as bad as Dobbs, though, for a majority of the game. And the Vikings were gifted an opportunity, thanks to Fields fumbling the ball, around the Bears' 40-yard line. What do the Vikings proceed to do with about 4 minutes left in the game? The Bears still have 3 timeouts. In my mind right there, if I'm the play caller, I'm thinking, if we get a field goal here, the game's over. If we get a touchdown especially, the game is over. What do the Vikings do? They play this uber conservative like they're leading by 14 points. They run the ball twice against a very good top upper echelon run defense. They get like no yards. They might have got 1 yard. And they throw a screen for a -3 or 4 yard differential there. So they end up going run, pass. And the one pass being one at the line of scrimmage that actually goes for a loss because the Bears were well prepared and they were all over a screen, knowing that the Vikings were playing it very conservatively. Again, if you get in field goal range, which is about 5 to 10 yards at, the most, you probably win this game. Because was there any chance the Bears were going to go down the field and score a touchdown? I just don't think so. I mean, not with Brian Flores and his defense and what they were doing and the way the Bears were looking on offense throughout the game. Very, very low percentage chance that the Bears were going to score a touchdown on the Vikings. Especially if they knew they needed a touchdown. Probably wasn't going to happen. So, why that's so important and that situation is so important is because I just feel like no matter how bad an offense is playing, no matter how bad a quarterback's playing, in 2023 NFL, when the refs are the way they are, when you have 4 downs and it's in a dome with no weather involved, all you need is like a few yards here. Like, you don't need much to get into field goal range. These kickers can all kick from 50 to 60 yards to give them an opportunity to win the game. They're only leading by 1 point. So to play that conservatively, run the football when you know you can't run the ball. All you're doing is wasting time. You're not actually trying to win the game. That was a major F-up by Kevin O'Connell. He blew the game in that spot. I'm not saying that O'Connell was the reason the Vikings lost. It was definitely Josh Dobbs, who was, again, the astronaut. But O'Connell blew it in that situation because Flores and his defense gave them the opportunity to win the game. People might talk about, Flores should have blitzed on that one play to DJ Moore. That was the only play the Bears really got in order to get them a field goal, which is, again, my point. They only needed to make 2 first downs, basically. 2 big plays. That's all they needed, and that can be had against any defense, with any offense, no matter how good the defense is. It just happens. You give up yards, you give up points in the NFL, and those situations are really hard, especially when the other team has 4 downs. It's just really hard to not give up a field goal. So to me, major F up by O'Connell. Horrendous game from the Vikings offense. And I really felt like the Bears were the better team all night from start to finish. They deserved to win this game. As a guy that bet the Vikings and backed the Vikings, it was depressing to watch. It really was. Now, I also bet the under, which was nice. But 8 for 18 on third down for the Bears. 1 for 1 on fourth down, which was a 4th and 10, by the way. Bold decision. Early in the game. More yards, about 60 more yards, 317 to 242. Equal sacks, which is rare for a Justin Fields-led team. Equal punts. The Bears actually had way more penalties, 7 for 76. And they had 11 more minutes of possession. And I really like the way the Bears are playing right now. I think their defense is playing really well. They stopped the run really well. Their pass rush has provided a huge spark by Montez Sweat. Their linebackers are playing fast with Edwards and Edmonds. And the secondary, man, really stands out. Brisker, Gordon, especially Jalen Johnson, who's playing all-pro football right now. He's a stud. And they could have had 5 or 6 picks in this game. They really could have. And it felt like the Vikings couldn't separate from their corners. The Vikings couldn't really make plays. You know, Dobbs missed a wide open Addison down the field from a double move on Gordon. Had him for a touchdown, and Dobbs threw the ball out of bounds. I couldn't believe that play. I was shook. People know on the live stream I couldn't even move. It was that bad. He missed him wide, butt-ass naked open. So, yeah, the Bears were the better team, and I got to give the Bears credit. I got to give Matt Eberflus credit because his defense won him this game. They stepped up when they needed to. They dominated all day long. I mean, 2 out of 9 on third down, that's not good enough if you're the Vikings. 0 for 2 on fourth down, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. So for me, the Bears kind of found a formula for them to have success down the stretch here. They're not making the playoffs or anything, but they might have just removed the Vikings from the playoffs. The Vikings looked atrocious today. They don't look like a playoff team. And honestly, I'd rather see the Packers. I'd rather see the Rams. I'd rather see a number of these teams make it in rather than this Vikings team I just watched. Now, maybe Justin Jefferson turns that around, but it did not look good today. Let's move to the next game, which is Thanksgiving. Now, in terms of Thanksgiving, I'm just going to go through each game, give you my takeaways from each game. Some will have more, some will have less. Then we'll get to Black Friday. So, Dolphins, Jets fans, just hold on a sec. But let's start with the first game. The Packers upsetting the Lions, which probably ruined everyone's teaser, probably ruined everyone's parlay. Luckily enough, I don't play parlays. They definitely ruined my teasers and definitely ruined a couple of my bets. I'm not going to lie. I definitely thought the Lions would win this game. I didn't lay the number. I thought that was too big of a number considering the Lions' defense. But in teasers, just to win the game at home, the terrible Jack Harlow halftime show, I thought they were going to be able to get it done. By the way, what was up with the Jack Harlow? What was up with all the halftime shows? We had an old lady in a cheerleading costume. Bro, we had Jack Harlow, fake-ass, bum-ass Eminem out there. I mean, bro, Jack Harlow, I mean, brother, you are already washed? Is there something to be said about that? I mean, he had a moment, I guess. Dude seems like he's like Frank Reich now. He's just through the motions, bro. But the Lions defense, I've been trying to tell you guys. Like, I've been trying to tell these Lions fans week after week after week. And every single video, they come at me and they say, Mitch, you don't know what you're talking about? Mitch, this team lost to that team. And, you know, the Cowboys lost to the Cardinals. And the Niners lost to Cleveland. And the Eagles lost to Zach Wilson, and the Chiefs lost, so like the Lions are still good because they lost a game. Bro, it's not about who lost to who. It's about what I see with my eyes. I'm not trying to be I'm not biased. You guys think I'm biased or something? You guys think I hate the Lions now for some reason? Brothers, Lions, fans, the pride. Your defense is not good enough to win shit. And that's just the honest truth. Like, your defense is the definition of ass. Your pass rush is lackluster outside of Aiden Hutchinson. Your run defense against quarterbacks is atrocious. Your coverage is disgusting. First play of the game, play action, bomb. Christian Watson mosses not one but two guys. Christian Watson, man. Back, bitches. Christian Watson making plays. That was nice to see. The propaganda returns. Jordan Love. Maybe I love again. Maybe Cupid hit me with the arrow. I don't know. But Jordan Love had a great game. He probably had his best game as a pro. And it was against the Lions. Now, how much do we believe in Jordan Love after lighting up Brandon Staley and then the Lions? I don't know. I don't know yet. He plays the Chiefs, which is a much tougher test. It is at home. So I'm looking forward to that game on Sunday night, but it just got a lot more interesting. And I'll say this about the Packers, man. They got a real chance to make the damn playoffs. If they win 4 out of the next 6 games, they're going to make the playoffs. And you look at this schedule. They play the Chiefs, which I expect them to lose. They play the Giants, Danny DeVito. I think they'll win that game. They play the Bucs at home, which I think they're better and healthier than the Bucs, but they do have problems with Bowles, so that's a questionable one. But they're at home. They play Carolina, a disaster, new coach. They should win that game. They play at Minnesota. We just saw the Vikings offense play. Are they going to lose to the Vikings twice this year? I'm not sure. And then they play the Bears. I think they'll win that game. So honestly, I think they're going to win 8 or 9 games. If they can win 9 games, they're probably going to make the playoffs. They have the advantage over the Rams. The Rams have the advantage over the Seahawks. The Seahawks play the Eagles. The Seahawks play the Cowboys. The Seahawks play the Niners again. The Seahawks play the Steelers. Are the Seahawks going to make it? I don't know. I don't think so. And that's a little bit of a spoiler for the later game on Thanksgiving, but getting back to that game, Rashawn Gary was daddy for Sewell or Decker or whoever was blocking him, daddy. Then you've got the Jared Goff conundrum. 2 bad games in a row from Jared Goff, at least early in the game. And this continues to preach I think Jared Goff's a good quarterback. I think you can win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. But you need a defense. Right? You need a defense to win a Super Bowl with any quarterback. I don't care who it is. I don't even care if it's Tom Brady. You need a serviceable defense. You might not need the 85 Bears, but you need a serviceable defense. You can't just have an absolute chum defense, as DeCant would say. I know he's watching this right now. Ben Johnson. Is he the Lions? I mean, I just couldn't get over how Dan Campbell is crying the entire game. I don't think the man could see because he was crying the entire game. I don't know if he woke up too early. He didn't get his coffee, his roids. I don't know. He didn't take his prescriptions. I'm not sure. Brother, get a fucking tissue. Why are you crying the entire game? Why are your eyes red? No wonder you went for 4th down so many times. You can't fucking see what down it is. Get a tissue. So that was an embarrassing loss by the Lions. I'm not going to lie. I thought they were going to win that game. Maybe it would be close. Your defense is ass. But I thought it would be close. I thought it would be competitive. But in fact, it looked like the Packers were the Lions. It looked like the Packers were the best team in the North. It looked like the Packers run the North. Christian Watson, back. Packers. Joe Barry masterclass? I mean, come on. Didn't think I would say that. I got to Black Friday too fast. I forgot about the other Thanksgiving games. Back to Thanksgiving. DaRon Bland and the Cowboys destroy the Commanders. First of all, I don't care what Ultra says. When you beat a team 1,000-0, it's impressive. DaRon Bland, congratulations. Jim Nantz, round of applause to you, my man, legend. Jim Nantz has always been the man. Jim Nantz has always been the GOAT. Jim Nantz. Growing up with CBS, man. Phil Simms, shout out. Jim Nantz with that call, fantastic stuff. Cowboys look like a well-oiled machine. They look as good as anyone in football. I think they look... If I would have seen them actually complete the win against the Eagles, because I felt like they fully outplayed the Eagles. They definitely did. And it felt a little bit different from the Buffalo game for the Eagles, where they kind of got lucky against the Cowboys. It didn't feel that way against the Bills. It felt like the Bills... Basically, Josh Allen almost won the game, but the Bills just aren't that good. That's what it kind of felt to me like. The Bills are good because they have Josh Allen, but the Bills are not a good team, if that makes sense. But it feels like with the Cowboys, they put together a complete effort, should have beat the Eagles, but they just had a couple things go the opposite way. Like Dak's foot being out of bounds, things like that. But that Niners defeat still lingers because I was there. So that definitely lingers for me. But I watch this team and I say, man, they can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They've got great pass protection. Their quarterback's playing superb elite ball. Their receiving core, Brandon Cooks looked unreal, fast, scored. CeeDee Lamb always lighting it up. Pollard looked electric in that game. And then Dowdle looks the part as the backup. You've got guys, Ferguson making plays. You've got Gallup making some catches. You've got Parsons leading the way on defense for an all-star unit. And a couple points I want to make. First of all, I think Dak Prescott belongs in the MVP conversation. You look at the numbers. You look at the performance. You look as of late, even in losses, he's played superb. The only bad game I've seen him play was the Niners game, and that wasn't really his fault. I think everyone around him was kind of at fault. Now, when you talk about DaRon Bland, people were bringing up like defensive player of the year, defensive this, defensive that. Guys, when I watch the Cowboys, I don't know about you, but that is a complete myth. He's not even the best corner on the team right now. The best corner on the team is Stephon Gilmore. There's a reason Stephon Gilmore is locking up Terry McLaurin on every single third down. I mean, how many times did we see Gilmore in the hip pocket of Terry McLaurin on a third down where Howell's trying to get him the ball to the number one receiver on the team, to a top 12 receiver in the league, and he can't get him the ball because Gilmore's all over him, looking like 2019 for him. Gilmore is still that dude, and I don't think people realize that DaRon Bland is able to play the style he plays because Gilmore has stepped up into the Trayvon Diggs number one corner role. And I would say even more so, he's more consistent. They're playing man coverage at a very high rate, and they consistently have Gilmore on the number one receiver on the opposing team in man coverage on third down. It's not a secret what the Cowboys are doing. They're matching up. They're playing man. They have some rules with it. They mix things up occasionally, but that's mostly what they do. They get pressure, and Gilmore locks up, and Bland jumps routes. That's why it works so well. They let Bland be the number two. They let Bland play his side of the field and lock up a number two receiver. He's really good. He's not defensive player of the year. He's not even the best corner on his team. And then lastly, the Niners rout the Hawks. The Hawks were completely shut down. They scored zero, donut, nada touchdowns on offense. The only touchdown they scored was a defensive touchdown thanks to Brock Purdy having a Tua moment. I think Purdy, I just don't see him being able to put together an MVP case. I think if anyone on the team has an MVP case, it's Christian McCaffrey. I think the importance to the team in both the run and the pass game and what makes the best offense in the NFL the best offense, his versatility, his ability to be a receiver or a running back, is MVP worthy. And I think him and Tyreek are the guys we should be talking about more than any other skill position. And I think they have a legitimate case. And lastly, Charvarius Ward had his best game of the season, locking up DK Metcalf. I'm concerned about the Seahawks. I honestly don't think they're going to make the playoffs at this point, the way they're playing on offense, the way that they're like a worse version of the Eagles on offense right now. They're boomer bust through the passing game, and they're mostly bust. And their run game and their offensive line is completely suspect. Their offensive line got dominated. I think Geno got sacked 6 times, consistently had pressure in his face and his grill. And when you have a deep passing, explosive passing team taking on the Niners, who are the best defense in the NFL against explosive passes, that's a bad formula, especially when you talk about pass rush gets there quick. Where's Geno's outlet? Where's the Geno easy completion to start the drive? I just don't see it. I think it's a combination of poor coaching, which is magnified by Kyle Shanahan and Steve Wilkes and the Niners because they coach very well. And then the talent is just as good, if not better, on San Francisco, which makes it a complete mismatch because Shanahan always shows how much better of a coach he is than Pete Carroll or anyone on Seattle. And it's been a masterclass for the Niners the last few times they've played the Seahawks. They own the Seahawks at this point. 150 more yards, 9 more first downs, 80 plus more rushing yards, and 6 sacks. Complete domination. Best team in football, the 49ers. Black Friday football. Quickly on the Dolphins and the Jets. First of all, the Miami Dolphins, I regret to inform you, you are not winning absolutely nothing this year. Or any year when your quarterback is Tua turned the ball over. Because he didn't turn it over not once for a pick 6, but twice. Twice! This motherfucker, Tua, throws the ball to the other team. Do you know how hard it is to be as incompetent in situational football as Tua turned the ball over? The man is playing Tim Boyle. Is that even his name? Honestly, I don't even have the respect in my heart to call this man the right name or even look up if his name's actually Tim Boyle. Like, I actually really have no idea. I'm just going off of recollection. For all I know, I'm going off of Madden depth chart. I have no idea what this guy's name is. He might be the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my life. And I've watched a lot of bad quarterbacks, especially in New England this year. This man, Tua, is allowing the Jets to be in the fucking game. If you do that in the playoffs, brother, you are toast. T-O-A-S-T. Toast. D-U-N-E. For the classic BLV fans. This man, Tua. Trash. Trash! With a capital T. But you want to talk about trash. And sorry, Jalen Phillips. I love you, Jalen Phillips. The U brother. Great player. Hopefully you get back soon, healthy. Please don't sack the Patriots. Other than that, I hope you're back soon. Great player. Loved him coming out of the draft. Thought he was the best pass rusher in his class. I think he probably is. Unfortunately, injured. You want to talk about trash, though? You got to start with Robert Saleh, and you got to end with Robert Saleh. This man attempted one of the dumbest Hail Marys I've ever seen in my life. And then after the Hail Mary happened, he says, well, it was unfortunate. What? What, sir? Can you say that again? Well, it was unfortunate that it was a pick 6. What? Robert, you've got Tim, if that's actually his real name, Boyle, and you're going to throw a Hail Mary after Tua turned the ball over, just gave you a touchdown? It was unfortunate we threw a pick 6. Just take the fucking knee. You have Tim Boyle. You don't even know if he can throw it to the end zone. I was actually impressed how far he threw it. And then, what do you know? Gets picked off to the fastest player on the field, Javon Holland. Oh, Canada. Javon Holland from Coquitlam returns it for 6. And you sit here and you say, well, this is unfortunate. Bro, the Jets are so bad. And we got Aaron Rodgers over here talking about he's going to come back. Rodgers, please just stop. Like, please, don't come back. You are going to die on the football field. You are going to look like Mick Foley after he was thrown off the Hell in a Cell by The Undertaker at King of the Ring 1998. That's what you're going to look like behind this offensive line. You're going to have a tooth so far up your nose, it's hitting your brain, brother. That's what you're going to look like. Just let Tim Boyle get his ass kicked behind this offensive line. And you got Robert Saleh, who, as a Patriots fan, I am so excited this man is the Jets head coach. Jets, baby. Lose, 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 and lose some more. Because you got Robert Saleh. Well, it was unfortunate. Go run up some more fucking steps, bro. You need to get some air. Dan Campbell needs a tissue. You need to run up more steps. This guy doesn't even know what offense is. This guy doesn't know what play calling is. Does he know anything about offense? Like, I seriously, did he go to Kyle Shanahan once in a meeting and ask, like, okay, what's this? Like, how does this guy watch the Broncos last year and hire Hackett? Someone please tell me. How do you hire Hackett after the hack job of 2022? And then you watch the Broncos this year and you say, you know what? I want that guy. I want Hackett. You watch this offense? They can't block. They can't run the ball. They can't throw the ball. They can't block. I mean, Robert Saleh is a complete, utter joke. Bro, I'm only on Friday. It's 9:43 p.m. I don't even know how long I've been up today. I gotta get some tea. I'm gonna put my tea right there. All right, let's move. Sunday night football. I've been waiting all night to shit on Staley. Yes. Okay, first we've got to go back to one of my favorite coaches of all time. Because not only did we have Brandon Staley and got to witness the greatness on the sideline of the guru, the Roo, no Roo in the guru, but we got to witness yes, sir. The clapper was back, baby. The clapper was back. I think my favorite line all night on Sunday Night Football was that Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, and Keenan Allen are the players you should watch on the Chargers. I think that had to be, quite frankly, the most brilliant piece of commentary I have ever heard in my life. You know, when I aspire to be a great sports analyzer, broadcaster, YouTube man, I want to be just like the Clapper. And Clapper, I give you so much credit for doing that film study. I give you so much credit, bro, of figuring out that Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Austin Eckler are the Chargers' best players. I just want to point that out, that the Clapper was absolutely phenomenal on the broadcast, brother. Doing a great job. I hope you keep it up. Great work. Just phenomenal. Give him a round of applause. The Los Angeles Chargers, since they have drafted Justin Herbert, have a record of 30-30. They have 1,508 points, and they have allowed 1,507 points. So they are 500 and have one more point than they have allowed. This was a frustrating game to watch. I was a Ravens backer here. It was my biggest bet of the week. And yeah, Zay Flowers did his thing. He took off. He's my guy. I told you. Chargers. Quentin Johnston is ass. I said he was a bust. He's a bust. Zay Flowers was the pick. I don't care how tall he is. It's not quarterback Panthers. You don't need to be that tall. Zay Flowers is a stud. I like Tank Dell. You could have picked Tank Dell. Brother, even Josh Downs, to be honest with you. The only reason anyone had Quentin Johnston high, I hope, after watching his tape, was that he could run fast and he was tall. Because there was really no one like that in this class. So, the clear best receivers on tape in college were Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, and after that, I mean, it was probably a toss-up between a few different guys. I think Downs was impressive. Tank Dell was impressive. I thought Charlie Jones's tape was fantastic. Obviously, he was a beneficiary of just being the only guy in Purdue, but still holding out hope for him. There was to me, there was a lot more impressive tape than Quentin Johnston. Just a side rant. But, I don't know. You guys judge for yourselves. I don't know what I'm saying here. But the Ravens covered this game, and it was infuriating to watch. I mean, the Ravens' offense was looking like the Chiefs. I mean, basically, it was just the quarterback making plays, running around in circles, trying to find somebody open. Nobody really initially open unless it was an OBJ slant. And then, I don't know what's going on with Ultra's boy, Todd Monken, but can the guy just run the ball? Can they run Lamar? What's their problem? Can they just run Lamar Jackson? Do they not realize they have Lamar fucking Jackson on their team? Am I missing something? Why is he throwing the ball and handing it off so much and throwing bubble screens so much? Why are the Ravens throwing bubble screens every second play? Can Todd Monken get his head out of his Georgia ass? Please? That game was concerning. The Ravens passing game, the passing game and structure, the play calling, all concerned me in that game. It really looked like the Chiefs. It looked like the quarterback was doing everything. And it looked like the Chiefs without Taylor Swift. And then I want to say this. You guys knew I wasn't going to let this go. I'm not even going to sit here and talk about Brandon Staley. Because I don't think Brandon Staley did a bad job against the Ravens. Is the man's face one of the most infuriating things in the world? And it's up there. But Justin Herbert, I must say this. I'm sorry, Chargers fans, but you have to just talk about it for a second here. How many times are the Chargers going to lose a close game where Herbert has the ball and they don't score? I get it. Brandon Staley, he is the worst coach in the NFL. I get it. Kellen Moore is the joystick. He doesn't even know what he's doing. He just calls random plays. He asks Madden. I get it. I understand it. But how many games? Miami, Tennessee, Dallas, Detroit, Green Bay. How many times are the Chargers going to have the ball in their best player's hands? This, just fantastic, best thing since sliced bread quarterback. How many times is this guy, Twitter's favorite quarterback, social media quarterback, going to have the ball and not score? And how many times is he going to get sacked? I mean, goodness me. Someone figure it out. But I would also say this about Brandon Staley. His teams have no physicality. I was shocked that the Ravens did not blow this team out. I kind of knew the Ravens defense would come to play. By the way, the Ravens defense hits hard, dude. I felt like I was watching a 2006 football game. They were smoking people. I mean, holy balls. I don't want to look at Austin Eckler's back after this game. I mean, he must have 18 bruises. Roquan was just killing people in this game. There was just, did you guys watch that? Every time there's a guy across the middle, it looked like Ray Lewis. just a freaking smack. Like, I would not want to play the Ravens. Keenan Allen must have got punished in that game. But Brandon Staley, do you like coach 2-minute situations? Like, do you go over these situations? Why do you lose so much when the game is 3 points or less? Why is there only a 3-point margin in these games? Do you coach 3-minute situations? 2 minutes? Do you coach before the half, after the half? Do you coach to end the game? Field goal, touchdown, we need this, we need that, 4th down, what's our go-to play on the goal line? It really looks like the Chargers don't coach it. They just go out there, they play. But I have to say, Justin Herbert deserves some blame here. I mean, how many times are you going to have the ball and not score? Like, come on. Like, the Clapper was back. He got to watch Brandon Staley. And it was a masterclass from the Clapper. I just got to say that. Let's move on. The Saints. Shout out to Jamari. Shout out to Turtle. Shout out to my Saints fans out there. Shout out to my Poco Saints out there. There's a couple things I want to talk about when it comes to the Saints. First of all, I told you. No, I don't want to hear it. No, Mitch, Derek Carr with the defense, he's going to go to the playoffs. He's going to win the NFC. You don't know what you're talking about, Mitch. The only team I put ahead of the Saints is the Niners. I told you. Derek Carr ain't it. He was never it. He not it, brother. Lenny B. Jim Thorpe stan. I know you're hiding somewhere. Somewhere in the Seahawks 12s. I see ya. I see you with your goofy ass Niners costume on. Yeah, I told you Derek Carr ain't it. Derek Carr, what'd he do against the Falcons? Another 300-yard game where he checks the ball down. And then he gets one sense of pressure. He throws the ball to the closest guy. And then on 3rd down and 9, he'll probably throw the ball 18 yards out of bounds where his receiver's running a go route, and he'll be like this. I don't know what happened. What's going on? And then when he gets to the red zone, he's the worst fucking quarterback I've ever seen in the red zone. I mean, how many times does he throw the ball at the dirt, throw the ball way over a guy's head, miss a guy wide open in the end zone, not see a guy wide? Does the guy need contacts? Does he need to go to Vision Pearl Center here? I mean, brother, get some contacts, get some glasses. Can you not see? Are you like farsighted, which means you can't see close up? Like, what's up with you, brother? Why can't you see in the red zone? And then after the game, he throws a pick directly to Jesse Bates. He runs it back for a touchdown. Jesse Bates, best safety in the league, maybe. And it was a phenomenal play by Jesse Bates. He came from the high safety, low to pick it off. It was great. No denying. But Derek Carr literally said, I just gave him a pat on the back. That was a great interception, bro. I don't remember Tom Brady ever going to Ed Reed and being like, you know what? That was a great interception. You got me, bro. You got me. You're good. You're good. I didn't do anything wrong. You know, you're just too good. I don't know what to say. Are you kidding me, Carr? Bro, this guy is just a loser. Like, I don't know what to tell you. He does. I was fooled. I'll admit it. A couple years ago, I was fooled by the guy. I gave him too much credit. I was fooled. He throws a cool football. It's stylish. Guys, you know, he talks a good game. Has a brother, you know, high first overall pick. You thought maybe that the talent, the situation of David Carr messed up his career. His brother, you know, would be the one to really go for it and win a Super Bowl with a good defense. He's just not it. He doesn't have it. And you know what he doesn't have, Jamari? he doesn't have this. He doesn't have what Jamus Winston has. Hold on a second. I know you're saying, Mitch, Jamus Winston threw 30 and 30. He threw 30 picks. He threw 30 touchdowns. I know. I remember watching every single game, every single snap of the 2019 Bucs because I went back, watched all their games, and told everybody why Tom Brady was going to win the Super Bowl. And yet Turtle didn't believe me because he had old man Drew Brees and his Saints trying to beat Tom Brady. It was never going to happen, and it didn't happen. But this is what Jamus Winston brings. Jamus Winston has more heart. And Jamus Winston, say what you want about him, is a leader. Jamus Winston is likable. Jamus Winston is beloved. I love Jamus Winston. Turtle loves Jamus Winston. Big Al loves Jamus Winston. Maybe even Singh loves Jamus Winston. If Singh loves Jamus Winston, everybody loves Jamus Winston. Kamara loves Jamus Winston. Chris Olave loves Jamus Winston. Tyrann Mathieu, Cameron Jordan, Demario Davis, Drew Brees. You know who Chris Olave doesn't like? Derek Carr. Do you know who Alvin Kamara doesn't like? Derek Carr. Now, I might not be able to prove this, but when I watch Derek Carr throw the ball 18 yards out of bounds when Chris Olave is running a comeback route, I kind of get the sense that Chris Olave doesn't like Derek Carr. When I see Chris Olave throw the ball directly into the turf once he enters the red zone, which, by the way, why don't they just put Taysom Hill in the game? Like, the guy's literally unstoppable once he gets inside the 10-yard line. Why don't they just put him at quarterback and let him play quarterback? Are they really having to prove the contract or something? But Jamus Winston should be playing for this team if they want to make the playoffs. Why? Because the team actually likes him. And he actually makes plays. The two biggest issues with Derek Carr is he doesn't make plays. He'd rather make his stats look good. And he has no leadership. He doesn't know how to connect with his teammates, and he's not likable. Jamus Winston is all of those things. He might make a mistake, but he'll also make a play, and damn sure when he makes a mistake, Chris Olave is not going to stand there and not try to tackle the corner. He's going to actually try to make the tackle. Why? Because he likes Jamus Winston. Singing Ludacris on the sidelines. That's my Saint speech. The Broncos bully the Cleveland Browns. The Broncos won again, guys. Yeah, they did it. What an impressive streak, man. They beat the Chiefs, the Bills, the Vikings, the Brownies, all in a row. I think all teams have a winning record or are 500, which is pretty impressive. And I think we've got to start talking about Sean Payton as Coach of the Year. I understand that they allowed 70 points in a game, but ever since then, who's been the best coach in the NFL? Is it Sean Payton? How he's managing this team? How he gets a touchdown seemingly every single opening drive of a game? At least a field goal. Puts them in front right away through his scripting and his play calling. Russell Wilson really made like 3 plays the entire game. He made a vintage outside the pocket throw for a touchdown, a couple vintage scrambles, extending plays against the Cleveland man coverage, which he always used to do and did now. And the Broncos ran the ball. They didn't turn it over. Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine had a lot of success running the football, much more than I would have thought. And the Broncos defense showed up once again and made an inferior opponent in terms of offense look inferior. DTR, I thought, showed some athleticism, showed some good things, showed me why they would make him the starter instead of somebody like PJ Walker, because he actually has some reminiscent traits of Deshaun Watson, except he's probably more likable, coming back to that likable word. The Broncos had 189 rushing yards. They also had the most rushing yards, or 169, sorry. And they actually had the most rushing yards in a first quarter that the Browns allowed all season long, which gave them a huge advantage in this game. They were up in the game just like that and could play from their terms and keep the Cleveland defense off balance. Cleveland ended up being 2 for 5 on fourth down. They actually ended up scoring a touchdown on one of the fourth downs. The game was 14-12 at one point. The Browns had all the momentum. They didn't get the 2-point conversion because Amari Cooper, who was terrible in this game, by the way, dropped the ball in the end zone. And Amari Cooper's been good this year, was good last year. Just played a really bad game here. And with 6:42 left in the third quarter, the Broncos outscored the Browns 13-0. One of the touchdowns was basically Kevin Stefanski being an idiot. They ran a double reverse play. It wasn't executed properly. It was fumbled. And that was when PJ Walker went in the game. They tried to get cute. They tried to go for a big first down with a kind of trick reverse run play. They fumble it. The Broncos get the ball. They go in. They score and basically put the game away there. But some crucial mistakes by the Browns. They were a little bit unlucky. You could definitely see that they were without Denzel Ward, and that hurt them because it felt like every time the Broncos needed a big pass play, they targeted Cortland Sutton versus Greg Newsome, who had to play on the outside instead of at the nickel's position in this game. But overall, just impressed with the Broncos. They know who they are. They play to their strengths. They know who they are. Sean Payton gives them an edge in the first quarter from a play calling standpoint. They run the ball well. They're physical on defense. They're fundamentally sound. They play well in situational football. Russell Wilson is still savvy enough to make some plays in the 2-minute and savvy enough to scramble around and extend plays every once in a while. And Sean Payton protects him. Doesn't allow him to throw the ball too much. Allows him to work off of play action. Allows him to run the ball 11 times versus Cleveland to avoid the pass rush. Allows Russell Wilson to work off of play action on boots and move and do that sort of thing. And Cleveland's pass rush never really had a huge impact on the game because of the run game, because of the situational game state. And then Cleveland's offense really couldn't play from behind as well. So, they weren't really playing from a state that they wanted to play in. So overall, just impressed by the Broncos. Continue to be impressed by Sean Payton, how he coaches this team. And they have apparently, I didn't do this calculation for myself. I heard this stat, so it might be incorrect. But since they allowed 70 points against the Miami Dolphins, the Denver Broncos have only allowed 80 points. That's pretty incredible to me. At least that sounds incredible to me. Moving on. The Jags and the Texans. This was a must discuss because this was a brutal live and post-game watch. Because Jacksonville, I will admit, was the better team, and I do think they deserve to win this game. But if you went back and watched this game, the Texans should have won this game based on just refs alone. And going through the notes, I have many here. Starting with the Texans offensively, I felt like overall the offense, this was maybe the weakest I've seen from the Texans offense in terms of schemed answers for CJ Stroud. There was very few open receivers, very few guys that were running on crossers wide open like we've seen so many times over the last few weeks, whether it's been Nico Collins or Tank Dell or especially Noah Brown in recent weeks, where it's been like guys running wide open on crossers. And maybe part of that is missing Noah Brown, who didn't play in this game, but feels like the offense was a lot more CJ Stroud running around, scrambling, providing his own time, operating from a pocket that he created himself and making a throwing lane and making an incredible throw time after time after time. And watching this game, I thought Trevor Lawrence had maybe his best game of the season, and I still felt like CJ Stroud was the better quarterback in the game. Trevor Lawrence did play well, though. I won't deny that. He had quicker decisions for the most part in this game. Although actually I felt it was funny that Matt Ryan and Rondé Barber brought up the fact that what I see with Trevor Lawrence is oftentimes he's a tick late on a lot of decisions. And that to me is his biggest flaw. He is a tick slow in the mental space at times. He makes throws a little late, which causes incompletions, tip football, sometimes interceptions, or just overall just not, the best possible play for the offense. But overall, mostly quick decisions, especially early on. I thought he made a number of big throws, especially on third down and down the field, attacking down the field much more in this game than in previous games. The biggest standout in this game for Jacksonville was Josh Allen, who had 12 pressures in the game, 8 versus Laramie Tunsil alone, which is the first player ever to have more than 4 pressures against Laramie Tunsil. Pretty impressive. He's been one of the best pass rushers in the NFL this year. Calvin Ridley was huge in the second half, had a number of big catches. Great catch on the first third down of the second half down the right sideline. Great throw by Lawrence, one of his best of the season. But really, it comes down to, a few plays. The game-tying field goal to send this game to overtime, 58 yards away, Amendola hits the crossbar. That's just unlucky, right? There's a goal line stop with 1 second left. Jacksonville goes for it instead of kicking a field goal to make their lead 9 going into halftime, which is probably the safer choice and probably the right choice mostly. But if you really believe in your offense, you go for it. You try to take a double-digit lead, and Jacksonville tries to do that. They don't get in. The Texans stuff them. I would have just taken the 9-point lead into halftime personally, most likely. But, it's the 1-yard line, which is really tricky. Tank Dell had a catch in the late first half that was called a no catch, and they missed a field goal because of it. So Amendola missed 2 field goals in the game. One was a 58-yarder, I understand. The second one was like a 40-something yarder. That would have also tied the game. Jacksonville did miss a field goal as well, but that one was a little bit deeper. I want to say it was around 48 yards. Near the end of the game, I felt like there should have been a better play call for the Texans on 3rd and 12. I felt like 3rd and 12 where they were at, they had a 58-yard field goal set up from that 3rd and 12. You need to call that play as if you're going to go for it, in my opinion, on 4th down, unless you pick it up on 3rd down. I think that what they should have done is played it instead of, dropping back and trying to make a play. I think they should have had something to pick up yards after catch underneath or something very quickly so that they could have made it a 4th and 5 or something like that. And I would have considered going for that with Amendola as my kicker. Because Amendola, once I saw him go out there for a 58-yard attempt, this isn't Adam Vinatieri. This is not even Jake Elliott. I'm not thinking he's going to make that kick. Even if it's a 52-yarder, I'm not thinking he's going to make that kick. I'd rather just let Stroud go for it, but that's just me. I thought Roy Robertson Harris had a monster game, especially in the first half. There was a 3rd and 14 or 15 at the end of the first quarter where Tank Dell had a huge catch down the field. That was called back for an illegal shift that came super late. The flag came super late. And that was really a story of the game. You guys are probably wondering, Mitch, you talked about the refs earlier. What are you talking about now? Get to the refs. Okay, I'm continuing to say this. There was an unreal touchdown from Stroud to Tank Dell. That was an incredible touchdown. I thought Stroud was still amazing in this game. I love watching this kid. He's so smart. He's so good at stepping up in the pocket, dancing around, creating his own time, spinoramas. His patience is the number one virtue that I see. He's phenomenal with his patience. Okay, so talking about the penalties, there was 3 pass interference calls on the Texans in critical positions to extend Jacksonville drives for scores. So there was a pass interference on Houston Carson, this backup safety, on 3rd and goal. Okay, 3rd and goal, Lawrence throws an incomplete pass. They call pass interference on Houston Carson. That makes it a touchdown instead of a field goal. That's 4 points right there. That's a game-changing play. That was a debatable call. Pass interference on Thomas, the nickel corner on a 3rd and 4 at the 24-yard line. That also extends a play. Instead of a field goal, they get a touchdown once again. That's another 4-point play. That's 8 points. Another pass interference on Thomas on 3rd and goal. And at this point, I'm like, WTF. This is the same drive, by the way. That's 4 points. So 8 points in this game were decided by refs. Really, if you think about it, 8 points. And then you talk about 2 missed field goals by the Texans, 8 points added by the refs. Just very, very, very inconsistent. You know, Houston down 24-14 with 11 minutes left in the game. They nearly come back, and they should have forced overtime. I would have loved to have seen overtime, and I would love to see a third matchup between these teams. Because the first game, I thought the Texans were clearly the better team in that game. The Jaguars were the better team in this game. Like, I felt like their pass rush played better than the Texans' pass rush. I felt like their offensive line played better than the Texans' offensive line, and that was really the difference, in my opinion, was the line of scrimmage play. I do think Lawrence played a lot better than the first game, but I felt like Stroud played just as well, if not better. The run game for both sides was not great. I thought the Jags maybe did a little bit better job there, but the refs were truly the difference. And this game was in Houston, which made it that much more shocking. The Eagles and the Buffalo Bills. Few things to say about this one. This was obviously the game of the week, and some people would say this might be the game of the year. I want to start off with this. It's going to be a shame, an absolute shame, if the best quarterback in the NFL misses the playoffs. And that's who Josh Allen is right now. If you compare, who's the other best quarterback in the league? Probably Patrick Mahomes, right? I mean, the numbers are not even comparable. The grading is not even comparable. Josh Allen, numerous statistics, from big-time throws to PFF grade to turnover-worthy plays to touchdowns total with 33 on the season to yards. Josh Allen is statistically better this year than Patrick Mahomes this year. From a on-field eye test, Mahomes and Allen has been the better player. And really, this is the difference. You talk about one guy who has Andy Reid instead of Joe Brady. Who even knows who that is? Joe Brady, the former Panthers offensive coordinator with Baker Mayfield. Baker's playing a lot better in Tampa Bay. Brady's looking a lot better with Josh Allen. I wonder. Okay, one guy's got Andy Reid, one guy's got Joe Brady. All right, next. Chiefs offensive line, Bills offensive line. I've got at least 2 All-Pros on the Chiefs. I probably have 0 on the Bills. Although I will say the Bills offensive line this year has been better than recent years, but not great by any means. The running game. I don't know what it says statistically, because Allen impacts the running game a lot more than Mahomes, especially from a design standpoint. I think both running backs are fairly equal, James Cook and Pacheco, but I would say the Chiefs have a better running game with their running backs than the Bills. Receiving core. I would probably say the Bills are slightly better, right? You've got Kelsey versus Diggs. That's pretty much a wash or a toss-up. I would say that Kincaid and Rashee Rice are about the same. Rice is obviously more explosive. Kincaid's probably more consistent. Now that obviously Valdez-Scantling, Watson are probably the next guys up with Tony and Hardman injured. You know, Shakir and Davis are those next guys. I mean, Davis is Valdez-Scantling practically. He's maybe a little bit better. And Shakir and Watson, I don't know. Like, Bills receivers are probably a little bit better. But every other element, you're talking about the Chiefs' offense. Never mind the defense. Play calling, offensive line, run game, better for Mahomes. You're talking about a defense. Kansas City has a top 5, if not top 3, if not top 2 defense in the NFL. The Bills have one of the bottom 5, bottom 3 defenses in the NFL. the last few weeks, especially this game, I could go through the box score for you guys to just further prove the point in terms of Bills versus Eagles. And I'm just going to pull up the drives of what took place in this game, because it was a masterclass of how not to play second half defense. It truly was, once again, by our boy, Mr. Sean McDermott. So we're taking a look at the Eagles. So starting from the end of the half, Eagles punt, touchdown, 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 punt, field goal, overtime, touchdown. 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4, as my computer loads, scoring drives in the second half. Josh Allen had nearly 500 yards in this game. He had 4 touchdowns in this game. He scored 34 points in Philadelphia. 34 in Philadelphia. Patrick Mahomes couldn't even score 20 in Kansas City. So people like to look at Josh Allen's turnovers, interceptions, fumbles, that sort of stuff. Sometimes you're going to have to force and make plays when your team is absolute ass around you. I think this is the best Josh Allen's ever been, and I think this is the best quarterback in the NFL. 29 for 51, 339, 2 touchdowns through the air. He only took 1 sack despite the pressure. You guys watch the game. You tell me. 9 rushes, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. He led the team in rushing by nearly 40 yards. He led the team in passing. He was the best player on the entire field. He was the best player on the entire turf of the NFL on Sunday against arguably the best team in the NFL. And he nearly won this game by himself. The Bills defense had their moments in the first half. I'll give them credit for jumping on a couple turnovers. But honestly, this was all Josh Allen. This was Josh Allen. Right? Josh Allen doesn't have the luxury of falling down 14-0 against the Raiders. They'd probably lose if that happened. And it's going to be a fireable offense if Josh Allen, the best quarterback in the league right now, this year, doesn't make the playoffs. Because his defense, his coach, is that bad. And I think, this could go both ways, right? In terms of, I want to talk about the Bills and the Eagles in terms of conversation here. So a huge takeaway for me with this game is the Eagles. Everyone keeps talking about the Eagles and how they never play their A game. They never play their A+ game. And to me, I just continuously tell those people, maybe that game doesn't exist because we've never seen it this year. Like, you're thinking of this Eagles team that used to exist. I saw an Eagles team in week 1 nearly lose to New England. I saw a Eagles team, that should have lost to Washington. I've seen this Eagles team that probably could have lost the last multiple games they've played in a row. They could have lost to the Chiefs. They could have lost to the Bills. Now, did they make enough clutch plays in the second half, especially to come through? And Jalen Hurts and the team deserves credit for that. Also, I would not say Jalen Hurts is MVP. Why? What people are referring to with the Eagles is not that they're playing their B game, their C+ game, their F game, their A+ game. They're referring to margin for error, especially when it comes to the quarterback position. The Eagles can play not their best. The Eagles can play poorly. They cannot execute, let's say, for an entire half at the A+ level. And they can still come back and win. They can turn the ball over. They can fumble. They can throw picks. And trust me, Jalen Hurts has nearly as many turnovers as Josh Allen. But what is the difference? The Eagles have a great roster. It's 10 times better than the Bills roster. 10 times. I mean, you talk about the Bills roster right now. Von Miller doesn't even show up on the stat sheet. How much money are they paying Von Miller? Ed Oliver. He's been pretty good this year. Did he play against the Eagles? You know, Rousseau stands out every couple of, series. Not consistently. No one on the defensive line shows up consistently other than Phillips trying to goon people and break them in half. The linebackers are certainly not what they were. Matt Milano's not there, so nobody really stands out. Bernard's been playing better, but nothing special. Hyde and Poyer don't stand out the way they used to. Rasul Douglas stood out last game, but not this game. In fact, he stood out in a bad way. The offensive line, does anyone really show up and say, wow, they're good? Maybe Deion Dawkins at times. James Cook looks, like a pretty good running back, but he doesn't look like McCaffrey. Diggs doesn't even look like an elite player right now. I thought Diggs looked very mid against the Eagles. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I just felt like he was kind of Maybe it was the rain. I don't know. But when you're talking about the Eagles and you're talking about a team like the Bills, you're talking about what a real MVP is, and that's Josh Allen. And you're talking about a guy that's on a very good team that has a very big margin for error, that can withstand turnovers, not playing 100%, not playing 200%. I've been on teams like that, man. And it's there were times where you could fall down, and you see this in other sports, right? Basketball, you'll see this with a team like the Warriors after the last few years. It's they're down by 20. Doesn't matter. Curry's going to go score 30 in one quarter. Thompson and Curry are going to hit 8 threes in a matter of 10 minutes, right? And then you can look at it in hockey as well, right? A goalie can keep a team in it for 2 periods, and then the third period they win the game. They turn it on, right? It happens. I've been on teams like that, and it's real in the NFL. You see it with the Bills and the Eagles. The Bills, one player almost carried the team to a victory here. One player. The best quarterback in the league, Josh Allen. Sean McDermott's got to be fired. I don't even know what to say at this point. He's got to go. What else do you have to say? Nick Sirianni, by the way, most punchable face in the NFL. Does he even do anything other than talk shit to fans? Does this guy do anything? I want Kyle Shanahan to hit the stunner on this guy so bad after the Niners layeth the smack-a-downeth on Nick Sirianni's candy ass on Sunday. I cannot wait. But when we talk about Sean McDermott, team has 10 penalties in the first half. Called a timeout to let a guy kick a field goal instead of let him run out there to kick the field goal. He iced a kicker from 59 yards out. What is he doing? I mean, the guy's defense plays zone coverage in every crucial down and gets converted on. I mean, the Bills converted 13 third downs and they still lost this game. The Eagles' 4th straight win, they got outgained by 100-plus yards and were double digits down. Didn't matter. Sean McDermott. McDermott had 25 seconds with Josh Allen, who's been lighting up the Eagles all day. He lost a game with 13 seconds left on the clock to Patrick Mahomes, and he still took a knee. I don't know what else has to be said. The guy's the worst clutch coach in the NFL. He's not the worst coach. Keep that in mind. He's the worst clutch coach in the NFL. That's all that needs to be said. I made this graphic for Brandon Staley. I will make this graphic for Sean McDermott. Can we please fire Sean McDermott? And lastly, but simply not least, the Italian stallion. Danny DeVito. Tommy DeVito defeated Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. Man, I am honestly asking you guys, please, do I have to keep streaming these games? Like, honestly, like, this is the most unwatchable football in the NFL. It's not even close. The New England Patriots are the most unwatchable football team maybe of the last 10 years. Like, how many points have they even allowed over the last few weeks? And they haven't won a game? They haven't allowed like over 13 points and then they've lost every game the last like 3 weeks in a row. That's insane. Their offense is so bad. The quarterback position is, Mac is broken. Like, that's the worst I've ever seen Mac Jones play. You guys have heard from me. I'm done with Mac. Like, we need to move on. We need a quarterback. We're going to have to draft one. And I don't want it to be Belichick making the decision. The man lost to DeVito, the Italian stallion. Give me a new coach. Give me a new GM. Give me a new quarterback. Please. I need it. You can't lose to Danny DeVito and let this get away. You just simply can't do it, brother. The only point I want to say about the Patriots, like, everything's been said at this point, and I'll have to make a separate video here down the road soon about what I think about the current state of the team. But I'll say this. In terms of the Belichick question, I don't want him as the coach. I don't want him as the GM. I'm ready to move on. In terms of the quarterback question, I don't want Mac Jones. I want a new quarterback. He's broken. Belichick broke him. Bailey Zappi sucks. Who should start at quarterback? I don't fucking care. Honestly, guys, I do not care. All I really care about at this point is the draft and who we're picking. I will watch the games as a fan. I will not really care about the cheering for the team. I don't care if they win or lose. I will take the draft pick as it comes. I will probably play up losing because it's fun, honestly, at this point. Why not embrace the stink, the stank, the stunk? But the final point I want to say is, this is a fact. Bill Belichick is one of the worst offensive coaches in NFL history. You look at what he's done without Tom Brady in Cleveland. You look at what he's done with quarterbacks. Drew Bledsoe, first overall pick, great talent, who goes to other teams and is successful after he leaves New England. You look at what he did with Cam Newton. You look at what he did. I mean, just look at it. Like, the only real seasons that Bill Belichick has been successful with quarterbacks from an offensive production standpoint was really Matt Castle. And that was like average quarterback play thanks to Randy Moss and Wes Welker, and at that time a peak Josh McDaniels. And a really good offensive line. That was like the best supporting cast Brady ever had, and Brady wasn't there for it. He was only there in 2007. He would have put up probably another 50, 40 touchdowns. Really, truly. Patriots probably win the Super Bowl that year, honestly. And it would have been because of Brady. And Rex Ryan's right. If you really look at it, the difference between Rex Ryan and Bill Belichick's career is having a quarterback like Tom Brady. Because Rex Ryan was one of the best defensive coaches in the NFL for a very long time. And Bill Belichick was the very same. Now, Bill Belichick, I think, had a mind for culture. I think he had a mind for the game and evolving the franchise of the Patriots in a unique way that I don't think a Rex Ryan could replicate. I think what Belichick did was he coached defense at an elite level for a number of years, and he always kept in front of the trends in the NFL on defense and in some moments in personnel, but also Brady's ability to shift allowed him an ability to shift the offense to his liking. But it was always thanks to Brady. The offense that the Patriots run, the system that they run, is not a good system. It doesn't work anywhere else other than New England with Tom Brady. I have not seen it work. Not in Denver with Josh McDaniels. Maybe the closest you could say is Houston with Deshaun Watson, and even then, not elite offenses. And that's with Deshaun Watson. At his peak, not even an elite offense with DeAndre Hopkins, Brandon Cooks, and Will Fuller. While Brady's doing this with small white guys. I mean, it really tells you the story there. So for me, I think I don't want Belichick. Not because he's not a great defensive coach or a great coach in general. He is a terrible offensive coach, period. He doesn't know offense at this point in the NFL. He couldn't figure it out from good to bad. He doesn't get it. Like, he gets it from a defensive vantage point, but he doesn't understand how it works. Clearly he doesn't. I mean, it's clear. He doesn't know what a good quarterback looks like. He sure as damn well doesn't know what a freaking good receiver looks like. So that's why I don't want him as the coach anymore, and I don't want him as the GM. That's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the BLV late night. This is 10:30 Pacific. I got to go to bed, bro. I got to wake up early. See you on the BR app as well. 11 a.m. Eastern time. Ranking the top 10 quarterbacks. Peace, guys.